This video is a preview of the MathGalaxy pre-algebra fun tutorial, and here we'll be looking at percents. Percent means per hundred, cent as in hundredths, like 100 cents in a dollar, and it's a way of standardizing comparisons. For example, if you have 800 students in one school and 400 go on to college, and 500 students in another school and 300 go on to college, you can't make a direct comparison because here more went to college, but they had more students to draw from. For example, if it was 400 students out of 1,000,000, you wouldn't say that's a better school. So percents standardize the fraction. So we're talking about which part of the whole school went on to college. Well, percents standardize it to a fraction out of 100. So these are like equivalent fractions. So here we could divide top and bottom by 8. So we're dividing the 800 students into groups of 100. And if we spread the 400 students among the 8 groups, dividing by 8, we see that 50 out of every 100 here went on to college. Here, if we divide them into groups of 100, dividing top and bottom by 5, then we see that 60 out of every 100 here went on to college. And 100 in the denominator is the same as percent. So 60 hundredths is 60%, and this is 50%. So we can make a direct comparison. Another example, say you invested $500 in one stock and earned $120, and you invested $2,000 in another stock and earned $400. Well, here you earned more, but you had to put up more to start with. So to standardize this fraction to how much you earned for every $100 invested, dividing top and bottom by 5 here, you earned $24 for every $100 invested. Here, dividing top and bottom by 20, you earned $20 for every $100 invested. So here your rate of return was 20%, and here your rate of return was 24%. So this was a better investment. The original unstandardized numbers are referred to as the part and the whole. So what you're saying is the part is what fraction of the whole converted to a fraction out of 100. And the part can be greater than the whole. For example, if you earned $3,000 on an investment of $2,000, so if you divide top and bottom by 20, you earned $150 for every $100 invested. So your rate of return was 150%. So in some cases, the percent can be greater than 100. You can convert a fraction to a percent by equivalent fractions if the numbers are easy to work with. But a method that will always work is cross multiplication. And that's based on the fact that for any equivalent fractions, the cross products should be equal. Cross products meaning here like 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4. 4/5 is equal to 8/10. So 5 times 8 is 40, 4 times 10 is 40. So here, to convert, say, 3/4 to a percent, it's, if you're looking for the percent, 4 times some number has to equal to 3 times 100. And you divide by 4 on both sides to get the percent. So 3/4 is equivalent to 75%. And another way is to convert the fraction to a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. So if you put that over 1, then the equivalent fraction is straightforward. Times 100 here, times 100 here. which means moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. As we've just seen, you can convert any decimal to a percent by putting it over 1. So that tells you to multiply by 100, which means moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. Going the other way, converting a percent to a decimal, if you just remember that the percent means 100 in the denominator, that tells you you're dividing by 100 or moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. So when you're converting a decimal to a percent, or a percent to a decimal, you're moving the decimal point 2 places, either right or left. So if you have a fraction at the end of a decimal, it means it's a fraction of the last decimal size. So this means it's 1/4 of 100th. So if you want to convert it to a decimal, you convert this to a decimal, which is 0.25, and you just tack it on without the decimal point. If there isn't a decimal point, say here, this becomes 0.5, you tack it on with the decimal point. So just as 5 pennies are 5/100ths of a dollar, 5% is 5/100ths of a whole. So this would be like measuring relative to dollars. This would be like measuring relative to cents. So like 5 cents is 5/100ths of a dollar. So you're using a smaller size as your reference point. This is, you're saying you have 5 things of this size. Okay, so now if you wanted to convert this to a percent with the part whole format, so this tells you you multiply by 100, which is 2 decimal places. So now part of the value is in the decimal and part is in the percent sign. And if you're not sure if the conversion was right, put this over 100 and see if division will get you back where you started. So here, converting the whole number, so we multiply by 100, which is 500%. So converting from decimals to percents or vice versa, you're moving the decimal point 2 places to the right or the left. You can always use the part over whole format to do conversions, but after a while you'll develop your own shortcuts. One way is, if you remember that percent is the smaller unit of measurement, so if you're going from that to measurements relative to wholes, you're going to a larger unit of measurement, so the measurement decreases, which means 2 places to the left. And if you're going from wholes to hundredths as your unit of measurement, you're going to a smaller unit of measurement, so the number of measurements increases, which means 2 places to the right. Or you can think of some standard conversion, so like 25% is equal to 0.25. Remember, the decimal point is on the right if it's not stated. So in going from this percent to this decimal, we went 2 spaces to the left. So in converting your percent to a decimal, you would do 2 spaces to the left. And going from the decimal to the percent here, you went 2 to the right. So in converting your decimal to a percent, that tells you you go 2 to the right also. So whichever method you use, you want to choose one and stick with it. For example, here, if you remember that percent means 100 in the denominator, and hence division, that means you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, or 0.076. And going the other way, if you think that going to percent is going to a smaller unit of measurement, so the number of measurements increases, that would tell you you're going larger, or 2 to the right. And again, you can always use the part over whole format. Here we're going to a smaller unit of measurement, so the number of measurements gets larger, which means 2 to the right. Here, if we want to convert this percent to a fraction and a decimal, first we want to convert this fraction to a fractional part to a decimal and tack it on to the 48, which gives us 1/5 is 0.2, so it gives us 48.2%. And if we remember percent is 100 in the denominator, that gives us a fraction, and then that tells us to get the decimal we divide by 100, so we get 0.482. This has been a review of percents. If you want more details in practice, you can find them in the MathGalaxy Pre-Algebra Fun tutorial. Thank you for listening.